The family of the girl who died in Aruba, who was murdered, that this time he won't be able to walk away because we will make every effort to detain him and make him pay. It has been the same MO. Such a coincidence. He saw her in the casino. He took her from the casino. He took her and killed her. Too much coincidence.
Tonight, stunning breaking developments. Joran Vandersloot extradited to Peru. Joran wanted for the brutal murder of Stephanie Flores Ramirez, a 21-year-old Peruvian woman from a very powerful family that he met late at night at a casino in Lima. Stephanie found viciously beaten and stabbed to death. Her neck snapped in a hotel room registered in Joran's name. T.J. Ward, private investigator who covered the search for Natalee Holloway in Aruba. What do you make of the fact that authorities say they found no sign of sexual assault in this gruesome killing, and also that Joran Vandersloot allegedly stole $5,000 that she had won at the casino earlier that night?
Well, maybe the sexual encounter he may have tried, and that's what caused the conflict between him and her in the struggle. But the Alabama charges that the federal government has brought up into play right now may be a good thing for Aruba. Let's not play out that the federal government didn't set up a sting operation against that's Joran Vandersloot for the extortion of the monies and also the wire fraud. They now have another confession from him that he apparently knows where the body is in Aruba, and Aruba needs to do the right thing and get a new set of eyes and start this investigation as it should have been in Aruba in the beginning.
Well, Wendy Murphy, I've been debating ever since this story broke with a slew of experts who seem to feel that this is not going to impact the case in Aruba. And I keep arguing with them that just, Drew Peterson, right? Drew Peterson's, his wife goes missing, Stacy. Well, then they reopen the case of an ex-wife who supposedly drowned in the bathtub and turned it into a homicide.
Yeah. And let me say this. You know, it may not have an impact, but it could. For example, what if through a variety of circumstances they do find out more about how Natalee died, and it turns out that his MO is the same in both cases? Having a matching MO, showing a pattern of activity, allows absolutely the Aruba case to be reopened, because this new evidence, this new behavior can be used to prove that that was his way of doing business, so to speak, with women. So it's possible. It's also possible that political diplomacy could play a role here and phone calls get made. You know, I hate the idea of treating this like a swap meet where you give this guy anything in exchange for the truth, because he's a liar, he's a psychopath. Frankly, I hope we all start to call him urine instead of Joran, because a disgusting body fluid seems to fit for this guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't like the idea of a swap meet, but he's never going to walk free again. So if there's anything you can do to get this guy to give some comfort to Natalee's family, I'd do some trading. Reluctantly, I have to admit, I'd do some trading.
Yeah, and of course he has not been convicted. He's never been charged in Natalee's case, and he certainly has not been convicted in this case. But Steve Cardian, when you just heard the reporter say that they don't have bathrooms in Peruvian prisons, that they have to go to the bathroom in a hole in the ground, that might be some incentive for this man to finally tell the truth and to at least do some kind of a deal where maybe he gets to serve time in the United States.
Jane, this is a good thing for the investigation that he's been arrested, and hopefully it can compel the international community to put a lot of pressure on Aruba, because there was no good investigation done in the Natalee case at all.
Thank you, incredible panel. Obviously, we are going to stay on top of this case. Tune into Issues Monday for the very latest. So much happening. And meanwhile, another wild case tonight. Bizarre new twists and turns in the tragic death of Gary Coleman. The legendary actor died 1 week ago. He suffered a brain hemorrhage after falling inside his home. He was only 42 years old. Coleman and his wife divorced back in 2008. But they were in bed together the night he collapsed. Take a listen to his ex-wife's bizarre 911 call.
I heard this big bang. I went downstairs, blood everywhere. I don't know if he's okay. I'm not down there right now because I have seizures. If I get stressed out, I'm going to seize.
Is there any way you can go down there at all?
I'll try. I don't know. I mean, I can't.
How old is your husband?
Ex-husband is on the floor, possibly dying, and she can't even go downstairs. Now, some fans are pointing the finger at Shannon Price, claiming she might have even had a hand in Gary's fall. The two did have a very stormy relationship, to say the least. Both were accused of domestic disputes within the last year. Adding fuel to this explosive fire, it was the ex-wife's decision to pull the plug on Gary's life support. Cops say there is no sign of foul play, and now this 24-year-old is speaking out to defend herself. Here is exactly what she told TMZ.
I've had a lot of speculations out there. I've had a lot of people sit there and say, yeah, she pushed him, this and that. You know, people are so cruel, they don't even know. I was upstairs. He was downstairs. How am I going to push him? The doctors told us that, you know, even if they had done surgery on him, he would have died. He would have bled to death during the surgery. And they said even if they did take a chunk out of his brain, he would not be the same. He would be basically like Muhammad Ali.
In the immortal words of Gary Coleman on Different Strokes, what you talking about, Willis? What is she talking about? She doesn't exactly sound like the grieving widow. Why the bizarre comparison to Muhammad Ali? I mean, he's alive and walking around. Joining me now with lots more on this, clinical psychiatrist Dr. Dale Archer and senior editor for In Touch Weekly, Kim Seraphin. Kim, Shannon Price may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, as they say, but is she getting a bad rap here?
You know, exactly. You listen to that call, and obviously a lot of people think this is not the way I would react if someone I knew and loved was bleeding and lying in a pool of blood on the floor. But again, obviously people react differently to stress. People react differently to trauma. She does talk about her seizures. She's afraid she's going to seize. But it is bizarre. I think you use the best word when you hear the operator saying, can you put pressure on the wound? And she's yelling at him to put pressure on his head. But yeah, she could potentially be getting a bad rap because, again, people really deal with stress and trauma in different ways. She obviously was there for him. You know, they were apparently divorced secretly back in 2008, but they were apparently together. It didn't look like Gary really had that many other people in his life. We know he was estranged from his parents. Todd Bridges, of course, was still friendly with him, but it does seem like Shannon was there for him at least.
Now, this woman actually witnessed her husband bleeding profusely right in front of her. But instead of remaining calm when talking to 911, she seemed to just completely flip out. Listen to this.
I'm just panicked. I don't know what to do. When are they going to be here, do you know?
Okay, they're on their way. It just depends on where in the city they were when we called them out.
Gary! I just don't want him to die. I'm freaking out, like, really bad.
She also told the 911 operator she couldn't deal with blood. Dr. Dale Archer, when your husband might be dying, shouldn't that be priority number one? Or could squeamishness and fear of blood being repelled by it actually be something that's beyond your control?
Well, it's certainly not a reaction that we would expect and that we would label as normal. But then again, I don't think that we can read into this that, oh, she acted that way, so therefore she had a role in what was going on. I think it's very sad and unfortunate. His whole life really is just a cautionary tale of being a child star, having everything given to you at a young age, having it not work out when you get older. And then alcohol, drugs, depression, and poor relationships are the hallmark of child stars. I just think the whole thing is sad.
When is it time to pull the plug? You know, we could argue that point until we're blue in the face. Doctors say Coleman had slipped into a coma, and that's when his ex-wife made the very difficult decision to shut off his life support. Check this out.
I don't want people to be so hard on me thinking that, you know, I had to pull the plug too early. He wouldn't have made it anyway. His heart would have just given out. And I don't want people to sit there and think I'm a bitch and that I didn't care about him. But, you know, be in my situation. I mean, look what happened with Terry Schiavo.
It's a decision we all hope we never have to face. So this young woman, by the way, is only 24 years old. She's Gary Coleman's ex-wife, and they had, as we've been saying, a very rocky relationship. But legally, the hospital is now saying she had the legal right to pull life support because Coleman apparently, Kim Seraphin, signed an advanced health care directive that gave her permission to make medical decisions even though they had gotten divorced. It's kind of like they were living together, they were in bed together, she was still the most important person in his life.
And I think an important point there, Jane, is that the doctors are not going to allow that to be done unless they've exhausted every possibility. So she would have the final decision, but the doctors would say, okay, it's your choice, we've done everything that we can.
All right, now, Gary Coleman's parents are not fighting for custody of his body. Now, here's what I don't get. Where were his parents when Gary was alive? He apparently wanted nothing to do with them. In fact, Kim, didn't he sue them in 1989 for allegedly, I say allegedly, stealing his childhood fortune?
Exactly. I mean, very famously, he sued them. He had a very tumultuous relationship with them, was not even in contact with his parents. So it is odd to see that his parents are stepping in now. They, of course, want to gain custody of his remains, and now the funeral has been put on hold because, of course, his wife or ex-wife, Shannon, would like to have his remains. His parents want his remains, and now it doesn't appear that there is any will right now. Of course, you did mention Shannon did have this have the power, legal power, of course, to make the decision about his life and his health and the decision to pull the plug for him. But we don't really know about a will, other than what Todd Bridges is now saying. And we know that he was not talking to his parents. We do know.
I got to ask you quickly, Kim, where did all his money go? I mean, apparently they don't have money for a funeral. He was on a hit show. The residuals had to be coming in as we speak.